Thank you for tuning in tonight. Usually right now you would hear the unmistakable greeting from our longtime co-anchor, Kris Radcliffe, who would always say, "Welcome in from wherever you're joining us in our viewing area." But tonight, things will never be the same for us as we mourn the loss of Kris.
He passed away this week, and as we grieve, we will of course need to take time away from the news desk. But tonight, we are coming together from all across the viewing area and even across the country to remember our beloved Kris. In place of the newscast tonight, we are honoring our friend and colleague, Kris Radcliffe.
And I just want to say, Bailey, it takes incredible strength for you to be here today. We loved Kris very, very much. That's why we're here. We're starting by honoring Kris with his pride and joy, his family. The Central Texas community is sending thoughts and prayers to them as they navigate this tragedy. 6 News reporter Sydney Deshawn shares some glimpses and moments with his family, who he adored immensely.
Kris Radcliffe loved a lot of people. What he cherished most, though, was his family. Kris leaves behind a wife, sister, 2 daughters, and 2 grandchildren. Kris has been married to his wife Eden for 18 years. They first met at George's when Kris finished a softball game and Eden was going to hang out with friends. When Kris would tell the newsroom about their first encounter, he described Eden as a walking angel. He was so in love, and you could simply see it when he talked about her. Eden says he was the love of her life. Kris was a devoted dad to Tori and Courtney and grandfather to Winter and Tate.
Let's go to grandbaby number 1, the oldest, and show you a video of my grandson that will hopefully put a smile on your face that occurred yesterday. Yeah, like for my grandson Tate, who's watching right now. Hi Tate. If you are one of those parents, you may have noticed the price to send your kid to summer camp. It's not.
What do you think of that? What do you think of that? Papa said hi to you.
Yeah. He was also a proud brother to Suzanne. You can tell Kris loved his family hard. He was the biggest family man out there. He played with the kids, taught swim lessons, gave homework help, supported them through everything. He was a mentor. He was the rock and shoulder to cry on, yet he was always ready to laugh and share a smile. His love for his family and the Central Texas community will last forever. To know Kris is a blessing and honor.
And thank you to Sydney Deshawn. It was a beautiful tribute that she put together. It was not easy for her to do that. And news of Kris's passing spread quickly among former coworkers as well.
Many reached out to share their memories of Kris, and here's what a few of them had to say.
I had the opportunity to work with Kris for about 2.5 years when I was living in Texas, and rather than list all the memories that I have of him, the thing that I will always remember about him is truly how much of a force and how much of a presence that he had and that he brought with him into the newsroom. His passion was truly unmatched for so many different things, for his stories, for his family, and he will truly be missed.
Kris was such an amazing man. When I started at KCEN, he was the sports director, and he was someone who would walk into the newsroom and command attention, command the room, and yet he was so approachable. He was someone that always rooted for you, who always wanted you to win. Even after I left KCEN and came here to KView, he would message me and talk about stories he had seen. We would talk about the work I was doing, and he was someone who was just a constant cheerleader. He wanted everyone to be great, and he certainly was great. We're going to miss him terribly. Of course, our thoughts and prayers are with his family as well as my family at KCEN.
I had the pleasure to work with Kris from 2013 to 2016 and created a friendship that has lasted well beyond those times. He was a mentor to me and many others at KCEN and helped elevate me to become the man that I am today. We would talk about real estate to obviously weather, politics, and so much more. One of my fondest memories that showcases the storytelling and the personality that Kris possessed was when we took Texas Today on the road to the Texas Motor Speedway. If you have a chance, I encourage you to look that one up. Love you, Kris.
Kris literally was our newsroom dad. I moved to Texas right out of college, didn't know anyone, wasn't near my family or friends, and he made me feel so secure, so safe. If I needed anything, he would be there. KCEN is really a family, and that's why this one hurts so bad. Kris was like our newsroom's personal financial advisor. He was just always there for us in any way we needed. He also did sports back in the day, so he had all kinds of stories about when Kim Mulkey was hired, when Scott Drew was hired, and then of course he would always give me crap about being a Yankee fan because he is a Dodgers fan, so it's only fitting that the Dodgers beat the Yankees in the World Series yesterday. Kris, we love you, we miss you, praying hard for his family, his friends, and of course our KCEN family as well.
My first day at Channel 6, I walk in and this guy yells, "Are you the girl with the Jeep and the California license plate parked outside?" Thank goodness there's another Cali girl in town. And from that moment on, I knew Kris was gonna make Channel 6 feel like home. He became the person I turned to for career advice, for life struggles, or to just break down Saturday's college football matchup. But most of all, he was a mentor that turned into a best friend for me. He drove me home after my first day at work, and he drove me home on my last day at work. And I will never forget that car ride with him, sitting in the driver's seat, just talking about life and how excited he was for me to move to Columbus. And Kris, that's how I will forever remember you. You yelling, "Hey Sheeran," across the newsroom. You just lit up every room you walked into. You had the biggest heart, and oh my gosh, that laugh of yours, I will just forever replay in my head. You will always, always be my newsroom dad, and I am just so blessed that this world brought us together because your impact will truly last a lifetime. We love you and we miss you, and I'm praying for your family and for my KCEN family.
It's been very hard trying to film this video and say exactly what Kris Radcliffe meant to me because he had such an impact on my life. And I'm wearing my Red Sox hat for Kris because we could talk about baseball endlessly. And one of my favorite things that he would do was walk over to my desk and check out what was on ESPN with his sunflower seeds and then ask me a daily baseball trivia question, which I thought I did pretty good at, but obviously he knew so much more than me. But Kris was just maybe my biggest role model because I looked up to him, and when I got to anchor with him, it felt like I had achieved big league status, that I got to sit next to Kris. And I just admired him. And then offset, he's just this incredible guy who loved his family and always had a new story about his grandson. And more than that, we would get offset sometimes at 10:30, and I would look down on my way to the parking lot and it was 11:30 because Kris and I had stuck around to talk. And I could go to him for advice professionally, personally. I would call him and ask him about my health insurance, my 401k, and Kris was there. And it's cliche, but the people who I worked with were my family because I moved there and I didn't know a soul. And you latch on to those people very quickly who you spend a lot of time with. And Kris was one of those guys who I always wanted to be around. He just had this aura around him that drew people in, and I looked up to him so much. And I would remember going into the community with him, and people would come up and ask for photos because he meant a lot to Central Texas as well. And so I'm still struggling to find the words exactly of what he meant to me, but I know I'm gonna miss you a whole lot, Kris, and I wish we could tee it up one more time and I could watch that lefty swing. But I'm gonna miss you, man.
Hey everybody, Texas Today anchor Jasmine Caldwell here. I have the pleasure of working with Kris Radcliffe for the past 8 years. I started here at KCEN as a young reporter back in 2017, and Kris was always one of my favorites. I used to say that he was my desk mate. We sat right across from each other. We shared a love for Mountain Dew, which is the best soda in the world. We also were Nebraska fans. Fun fact, Kris used to work as a sports reporter in Nebraska many years ago. And for all of you out there who may or may not know, Nebraska is my home state. I did get the chance to anchor the news with Kris Radcliffe one time, and it was around the time when I was just transitioning from being a reporter to an anchor. And I have to admit, I was scared because I knew how much of a giant Kris Radcliffe was in the community. And I wanted to, be just as good as him, but he kept me calm and made sure that I would do okay, and the show turned out awesome. We're gonna miss Kris so much. He gave me so many life lessons. He is going to be forever my friend.
Hey, I'm Texas Today anchor Micah Wilson. When I think about Kris Radcliffe, I think of when it was announced that I was coming here to Central Texas to the 6 News staff. I'm telling you, 0.5 seconds after that email was sent, he already reached out to me. He was like, hey, if you're looking for a place to live, you want to check out these areas. And he also recommended me Miller's Barbecue. I said, I like to eat. He said, no worries, I got you. I also think of sunflower seeds. It's funny coming here sometimes in the afternoon to edit stories. You would just hear him spitting those seeds in the cup. Now looking back, I can definitely laugh at a point I was like, Kris, chill out with the seeds. But that is something that always reminds me of Kris Radcliffe, and also something we now share in common is the bra brunch for the American Cancer Society of Central Texas. We share that. People there love to see him, as well as I know you all love to see him. He always brought a smile to everyone's face.
And that's part of our job, is if we're having a bad day, for you not to know that at home. And when I would be having a bad day, he'd be right here.
And he always
make
made
it better.
Each day better. He was really the light and the heart and the soul and the energy in the newsroom, and we are doing this for him today in his honor.
Well, Kris was a Central Texan for over 20 years. He became an active member of the community from on to off-air appearances.
Always making sure he was here to help. But 6 News reporter Juliana Jackson spoke to local groups on the impact Kris left, and it was definitely a huge one, Juliana.
Yes, it was. Kris was part of many local organizations across our area, from dusting off his cowboy boots to modeling a bedazzled bra. He was there to support and help in all areas across our community.
He loved to hear people's stories. He loved to hear about what we were doing, and it wasn't just all about Kris.
Kris Radcliffe loved giving back to Central Texans. After his death, the weight of his passing is felt. He was part of the American Cancer Society Bras and Brunch. Volunteer Karen Dungan says he was a light.
He wanted to share everybody's goodness with the rest of the community.
Because of his very humble celebrity status, but he appreciated that, and he realized that that was what he was bringing to the event and to our organizations.
Precious Memories flower shop owner Celeste Thompson knew Kris for over 15 years, especially during the holidays when he would host the Chromes and Carols event.
And Kris, I think I found us. It says please don't touch, but there's Kris on a Harley Davidson right there.
What are you saying? That Harley Davidson looks like it's from 1930.
Kris volunteered with local hospitals and the Salvation Army. Marcine Chambers with the Salvation Army says knowing Kris and seeing him at the annual Boots and Bandanas event was special.
Can work hard but have a lot of fun. I loved hearing his dad jokes on the news. And I loved Lindsay's reaction to the dad jokes. But he was a man's man. He had love for his family.
His love for his family and community was always genuine and shown on and off air.
His job to be on camera and to talk about the community wasn't just his job. He talked about the community because the community, again, was his family. And again, how do you put that in words?
United Way interim CEO Vishelle Green says he had a kind heart, and his legacy will continue to impact the community and beyond.
You really just can't. He will be missed. His impact was vast. His impact was wide. And he inspired so many people, without even realizing it.
Kris had a giant heart and one that will forever be missed.
And in his honor, I'm going to say, thanks, JJ. He gave you that nickname the first day you were here, and I teased him so much about it. I was like, you just gave her, she may not want to be called JJ,
Yeah.
but that's who he was. So thank you so much, Juliana.
Kris is one that always was a leader in our newsroom, and he poured into so many people here. No matter how many years they had in the industry, they wanted to make sure they were going to be great, and that's something that we will forever be missed.